Dear students, in today's class we'll discuss a new unit, that is a poem on children written by Khalil Gibran. So in today's class I'll be discussing this poem on children written by Khalil Gibran. So before I start with the poem, as usual, we'll give a brief introduction to the poet. So Khalil Gibran is a Lebanese-American poet and artist. So Lebanese here means it is a country, Lebanon. It is a country in the Middle East. So in the Middle East, in the sense we can say this country is bordered between Israel and Syria. So this country, those who belong to this country will be called as Lebanese. So he is a poet from this country who later lived in America. So he belongs to Lebanon, though he lived in America. So he is called as a Lebanese American poet and an artist. So Khalil Gibran is very well known for his work, that is the Prophet. So the Prophet here, it is prose poetry that is written by Khalil Gibran, which was published in the year 1923. A prose poetry fables. So the Prophet is a prose poetry fable. So here, why do we call it as prose poetry? It is because this work includes several poems, but not in the form of poetry, not as verses, but as paragraphs. So the Prophet adana ನಾವು a prose poetry fable ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೀವಿ, because the prose poetry ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು poetry poems ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಆದ್ರೆ ಆ poems ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಸಸ್ poem actual poem ಏನ್ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಆ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫ್ ತರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫ್ ತರಾನೇ poetry ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ರೈಟರು ತಮ್ಮ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯನ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೋಸ್ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಅದು ಹೇಗೆ ಒಂದೇ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರೋಸ್ ಪೊಯೆಟ್ರಿ ಎರಡು ಬಂದ ಹಾಗೆ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಆದರೆ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅದು ಅ ಪ್ರೋಸ್ ಪೊಯೆಟ್ರಿ. ಸೊ ದ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಅ ವರ್ಡ್ ಅ ಪ್ರೋಸ್ ಪೊಯೆಟ್ರಿ ಫೇಬಲ್. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ಫೇಬಲ್ ನೀತಿ ಕಥೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಫೇಬಲ್ ಇಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಅ ಮಾರಲ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ, a simple short story which can include animals, where these animals can talk. Also, fable gives a moral story. A prose poetry fable written by Khalil Gibran. So he is very well known for this book, The Prophet. In fact, the book here, The Prophet, has translated into many other several languages, including Kannada. The Prophet is translated also to Kannada, and it is translated into more than hundreds of languages. Also till today, not even once the book is out of shot, and ashtu popularity ಇದೆ ಆ ಬುಕ್ಕಿಗೆ. ಅಷ್ಟು ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜಸ್, 106 ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜಸ್ಗೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ನಡಕ್ಕೂ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಯಾವುದು? ದ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್, written by Khalil Gibran. It was published in the year 1923. So it is a prose poetry fable. And why am I discussing about the Prophet here? Because on children is a section taken from the Prophet, a selection from the Prophet. The Prophet and a book ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಆ book ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂತ ಒಂದು poem ಒಂದು ಭಾಗದ ಒಂದು poem ನಿಮಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟಿರೋದು. ಅದು ತುಂಬಾ ದೊಡ್ಡ book, ತುಂಬಾ ಕಥೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. In fact, this book, The Prophet, deals with several themes. It is divided into chapters, and each chapters it deals with several themes such as love, marriage, children, death, joy, sorrow, crime and punishment, freedom, teaching, friendship, time, religion, beauty, loss, evil, prayers, pleasure. The list is non-stop. All these themes, about death, about marriage, about children, about each and every aspects of life are discussed in this book. And in that book, in this particular part, Prophet, discussing about children. Okay, clear? So on children is a selection from the Prophet. The Prophet, prose poetry fable written by Khalil Gibran, and in this book, the Prophet poet discusses several themes such as love, marriage, death, friendship, law, crime, punishment, religion, children, eating, drinking, everything. And in this, in one of the particular section in the book, he discusses about children, so that you have as a point. So in this poem, what is happening here is, there is one prophet, and that prophet is named as Al-Mustafa. So Al-Mustafa is a prophet, and he lived in the city of Orphalis for nearly 12 years. And after living in that city for 12 years, the prophet is about to leave for his native. 12 ವರ್ಷ ಬದುಕದ ಮೇಲೆ ಅವ್ನು ಊರಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ ಅವ್ರ ಊರಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಕ್ಕೆ ಶಿಪ್ ಹತ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ. ಆಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, was about to board a ship that has arrived to take him back to his native. And after 12 years, he lived among the people of Orphalis. Now finally after 12 years, he is planning to go back to his native. But before he boards that ship, all his people, the people of this city, they come together and they ask the prophet particular questions, and there they discuss about several concepts such as life, human conditions. So before leaving that place, that city, the prophet discusses about life and human condition with the people. And while discussing, one woman, she asks questions regarding children. A mother approaches the prophet to know about his perspectives on children. So a mother, along with carrying a baby with her, she goes to the prophet and she questions him about children. She asks, tell us about children. She asks the prophet to discuss about the children. And then the prophet, Al-Mustafa, he talks about children. So what is the theme of the poem? What is he trying to say about the children, the prophet? He says here, or we can say that this poem is a guidance to every parent. Here, through this poem, the prophet, is saying that every children is unique. They have their own ideas, they have their own aspirations, dreams. So no parents should restrict the children or should impose their beliefs on their children. So in the poem, the prophet tells about responsibility of parents, responsible parenting, how a parent should be, how should he or she look after his children. A guide to every parent. So this poem is a guide through which parents can learn to how to treat their children, to not to impose their ideas and expectations on their children. point we can all guess what it is. We all know about our parents. In fact, to say this in simple words, most of the times the children, they wish to become an artist, for example. But what do their parents do? No, you should not become an artist. You should become an engineer or a doctor. So they make sure that their children is joined to some medical college or some engineering college, right? We all have experienced this. Parents get into the expectations, ideas. ನನ್ನ ಮಗ ಅಥವಾ ಮಗಳು ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರೇ ಆಗಬೇಕು, ಡಾಕ್ಟರೇ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಈಗ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸರ್ತಿ ಆ ಮಗುಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೂ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಒತ್ತಾಯಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಇಷ್ಟ ಇರೋ ಒಂದು ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ ಓದಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಸೇಯಿಂಗ್, ಈ ಪೊಯಮಲ್ಲಿ ಅದೇ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೊಡ್ತಿರೋದು. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟೇಷನ್ಸ್, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಐಡಿಯಾಸ್ನ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಡಿ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಅವ್ರದ್ದೇ ಒಂದು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಟಿ ಇದೆ, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅವ್ರ ಐಡಿಯಾಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಕಬಾರ್ದು ಅನ್ನೋ poem on children. So children have their own ideas and identity. So this is the introduction to the poem. I hope it is clear. Written by Gibran, a Lebanese American poet and artist, is well known for The Prophet, a prose poetry fable. In this book, poet discusses several aspects of life: death, children, marriage, and so on. On Children is a selection from The Prophet. In this particular section, we have a prophet. His name is Al-Mustafa, and he is about to leave this city of Arpalis. Before leaving, he discusses about human condition and life with the people. And there, a woman questions about children, and then the prophet starts to talk about responsibility of parents, what a children is, how a children should be treated, how one should not impose their ideas on children, because children are unique, they have their own ideas and expectations. I'll start. And a woman who held a babe against her bosom said, "Speak to us of children." And a woman, so there is a woman in this group of people of Arpalis, there is a woman, and she is asking the prophet to speak about, she is holding a baby against her chest, against her bosom. One magan etkondidaale, kelta idale, namge maklu bagge hedu. Speak to us of children. So prophet, he begins, and he said, here he refers to the prophet. So prophet ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. So this is a poem. As you can see, you have read many poems in your previous classes. You will have an idea how a poem looks like, a particular lines, rhyme scheme, verses. But here the lines are little long, so it looks like as if it is a paragraph. So this is called as a prose poetry. Prose poetry fable, a prose poetry which gives a moral message. So the prophet starts to answer to that woman, to that mother. Your children are not your children. Ingandre eno. This means your children, they are God's children. Nimmaklu devara maklu, bari nimmaklalla. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longings for itself. Your children are not just sons and daughters of yours. Nimmaklu barige bari nimma ಒಂದು ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಮಗು ಅಥವಾ ಗಂಡು ಮಗು ಅಲ್ಲ. Your sons and daughters are for life's longing for itself. Life's longing ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು desire. ಸೊ ಇವ್ರು ಯಾರು ಫ್ಯೂಚರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಜೀವನ ನಡೆಸಬೇಕಿರುವಂತ ಮಕ್ಕಳು. They are the sons and daughters of future. They are the sons and daughters of life with full of desires, with full of life for their wishes. They come through you but not from you. Through you, physically, they may have come through you. You have given birth to your children, but they are not from you. So, through ಮತ್ತು from ಗೆ ಏನು ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ, ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮಿಂದ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಜನ್ಮ ತಾಳಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಆದರೆ ಆ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ನಿಮ್ಮಿಂದನೇ ಭೂಮಿಗೆ ಬದುಕಬೇಕಿರುವಂಥವು ಅಲ್ಲ. ಯು ಆರ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಎನ್ ಏಜೆಂಟ್, ಯು ಆರ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಅ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ. ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಏಜೆಂಟ್, ಮೀಡಿಯಾ ಇದ್ದಾಗೆ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಭೂಮಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಕಮ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಯು. ಯು ಆರ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಎನ್ ಏಜೆಂಟ್ ಆರ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ ಥ್ರೂ ವಿಚ್ children are born, but they have not come from you. They are not just like you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. Though the children, they are living with you, they are not your possession. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಅವ್ರು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಬಟ್ ಆದರೆ ದೇ ಡು ನಾಟ್ ಬಿಲಾಂಗ್ ಟು ಯು. ಪೊಸೆಷನ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆಸ್ತಿ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಅವರು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಅವ್ರು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆಸ್ತಿ. ನೀವು ಹೇಳ್ದ ಕೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ. And though they are with you, though your children, okay, so your children, they do not belong to you. They belong to this life. Your sons and daughters, they belong to this life and they desire to live this long life. Though you are a media through which your children have come to this earth, they do not belong to you. Though they live with you, though they are with you, though they are living with you, you do not possess them. You do not have rights over them. So they do not belong to you. So I'll continue the point in the next class. Thank you.